Are we in sales or are we really assistant buyers? Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have from the UK, Mr. Alex Moyle. We talk about getting your sales culture beyond the sales team. Now, they have an interesting dynamic there in the UK with how sales are viewed. And you know what? It's not all that different than here in the good old US of A. I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are scared of sales. They're scared of marketing. They want to do social media marketing and they're not social. They don't know media and they're not marketers. So, I think this is a universal thing. He's the author of Business Development Culture, Taking Sales Culture Beyond the Sales Team. So we get into some nice little nuggets. They're going to help you grow your sales, grow your team to grow your sales. See how that all kind of comes around? If you're looking for more help, check this out. MakeEverySale.com. I don't know how else to make actionable sales training affordable. I'm going to be redoing the web page when I get back from Europe. I'm looking around. I've been a student of sales and marketing for over 20 years, probably 25 years. I was still in the Air Force when I was learning this stuff. And I see people putting out programs, big, thick binders, DVD sets. And as I think back in all of my training, and, I still listen to CDs. I listen to podcasts. I listen to that information because Zig Ziglar was right. You have to listen to things 12 and 15 and 20 times until you can complete his sentences. Then it becomes self-talk. So I'm totally down with that, and I'm still doing that to this day. But when I look at my real growth, it was from having a mentor, a sales coach. I remember I signed up in late 2005, so I was sure to get in on a limited seating program. It was a 12-week teleclass that started in 2006 and changed my life. 12 weeks, it was a PDF, no social media, no private group, couldn't ask questions 24 hours a day. There was no interaction like that, no videos, just good content, weekly accountability, weekly reinforcement, and it changed my life. And so that's why I've modeled the Make Every Sale program the way I have. And it's not something you have to pay for forever. Once you are in, either a one-time payment or 12 payments, you have access to the content and the group for as long as I do it. Okay, and I've done it nonstop for years, and I don't have any reason to stop. It's what I like doing. But it's that interaction. Ask questions in the group. Every Thursday we're on live, going through the workbook, taking your questions. I was telling somebody a story just the other day. Years ago when I was in high school, I was working out at a buddy's house. He had a full gym in his garage. And so we had access to it. I went over there once, brought my little sister. And so I'm probably, 17, she's 14, so somewhere in that age, 16, 13. And, I was a big, strong guy. I think I was probably benching like 225, doing sets. And I said, "Hey, sis, come spot me." And she says, "I can't lift all that weight." And I said, "I don't need you to lift all this weight. I'm going to lift this weight 7, 8, 9 times, maybe 10 times, and I won't need your help." I said, "But if I need your help, I need like 10 or 20 pounds of help." Right? You know how that is. You start to fatigue, right? You go until exhaustion, and you don't want all that weight dropping on you. So as long as you have a good spotter, they can keep the bar moving. And so they're literally helping 5%, 10% just to get you over that sticking point. And that's how I've structured the Make Every Sale program. You're going to get new insight. I'm going to help you. Look at that. There's an order right there. You're going to get new insight. You're going to get feedback. You're going to get some talk tracks. You're going to get some scripts that you can use to get started. And, maybe it's exactly what you need in a certain scenario. But the goal is not to make you a robot. The goal is to give you the confidence to be present during a sales situation. And so that you ask the right questions, that you don't get flustered. And then again, good old Zig would say, selling is a transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. I want you confident in that moment. And so as a result, you're working on an email sequence, you're working on a direct mail campaign, you're tweaking your voicemail, you got a big meeting coming up, you want to make sure you set it up properly. You have the right agenda, the right people in the meeting. Ask the question. Ask it in the group. You could type it out. I'll do live videos all the time to help answer questions. And then, of course, on the live calls, you can ask anything you want. We do an hour call, going through the workbook and trying to stay on topic. And then I do an open 30 minutes that can be on anything you want to talk about. So that's that 5 or 10% gets you over the hump, and then you can continue. Because you know how it is. Something gets sticky, it's messy, it's hard, it's uncomfortable. So we set it aside. We think we're going to set it aside for half an hour, and instead of 30 minutes, it becomes 30 days. That's the killer. Time kills deals. Money loves speed. Okay? So jump in. Again, you can enroll on a monthly payment plan. Once those 12 months are done, you're in. Nothing extra to pay, and you have a 1-year guarantee. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So if you want to sell better, have the confidence, the access to me to do it, come hang out with us. Join the Make Every Sale group now. MakeEverySale.com. Now let's bring on our guest. Alex Moyle, all the way from Bristol, UK, doubling as Mr. Mom for a week? Is it a week you're being Mr. Mom?
8 days, Mr. Mom, Chief Executive Officer of the Home Corporation, making it look easy, but I'll have nothing left when she gets back.
My wife has left me alone with my kids for like maybe 2 days, one time in 23 years. So you're making this look easy, man. So my hat's off to you.
I only have 2. How many do you have, Wes?
7.
Well, if I had 7, I promise you 2 days I'd be a dead man.
Crazy. So, man, you're out in the UK, and you kind of do what I do, huh? I mean, you're an author, business development culture, taking sales culture beyond the sales team. You speak, host conferences. What the heck makes you unique, man? Why should we be listening to you?
Well, I think I guess everyone's got an ego, and I guess my ego is that I believe that when people spend time with me, they actually do something different afterwards. So I focus on really practical, easily applicable things that people can actually do to make a difference. And I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the future and all these whiz bang pop things that people say might happen. But actually what people want is to help them solve problems today. And that's what I aim to do.
You mean you're not going to tell us the latest gizmo or how to do Snapchat and Venmo and track Facebook pixels to retargeting?
No. I mean, I'm a bit analog, really, in lots of ways. I believe in the power of the human relationship. The fact that if you speak to people, meet people, you've got a better chance of closing a sale and making a deal. And all those tools you mentioned there have a role to play in the sales process, but they don't replace the need for human contact if you're looking to get a lasting relationship and something that becomes meaningful over time.
Yeah, that only works in the UK though, man. Y'all are so far behind. You still have castles and moats and crocodiles and stuff. I mean, this is America, baby. Does this stuff really work in the US?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd say Americans love meeting people. They are the country that likes meeting people. You can digitize lots of things, but it's like you're a people country. And I think what's different is that in the US you really value sales professionals. It is a profession, where in the UK it sort of struggles to make it above garbage man. It sort of hasn't moved on much beyond the people's perception of the snake oil salesman moving from village to village with the stuff on his wagon.
So are you saying the UK is ripe for me to come out and do some sales training, or should I not waste my time?
Well, I'd say that if it's practical and it's focused on things that people feel they can actually achieve and do, I'd say the UK is ripe for sales training. I think one of the challenges that you've got in the UK is that people don't like the word sales. It makes them sort of shiver and shrink, especially in that SMB market where the businesses are maybe run by a practitioner that don't come from a sales background, and that perception that in the UK anything to do with sales makes you pushy. It's about getting people to do things they don't want them to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm a believer that that's not the case. My first ever director said, "Remember, Alex, whilst we say we're in sales, we're really assistant buyers, and our job is to help people buy what they want." And that's sort of the mindset in the UK. It's about how do you get people to want to buy from you rather than push them in a corner and don't let them out of the room until they buy.
So we're assistant buyers. Is that what he said?
Yep. Yeah. And I use it all the time. Everyone goes, "Oh, I could never do sales." And I go, "Oh, I'm not really in sales. I've never sold anyone anything. In fact, when I try and sell, I don't do very well, but I'm really good at helping people buy what they want." And so it's a bit like when your wife goes shopping with her girlfriends. That's a dangerous time. Leave my wife on her own with a credit card in the shops. It's her versus the shop assistant and the salespeople. She never buys anything. But send her out with her friends. She'll come back with crazy stuff and no money left. So that's the power of an assistant buyer.
Yeah, my wife, we've lived here in Southern California for 14 years. And my wife has made the all mall team 14 years in a row. It's amazing. She's the MVP, the most valuable purchaser. They love her.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and then she gets home and she goes, "Wes, you get selling. You got to convert some of those webinars, man. I've got credit cards to pay."
And that's what she sounds like. She gets on me. I don't even leave my desk. My kids, my wife, they bring me food. They feed me. They bring me something to drink. My bathroom's right here. I never leave until I make quota every day. It's terrible.
You're performance managed, man. You're being micromanaged. You got to find yourself a better place to work.
So how do you sell is it harder in the UK? I mean, do Brits look at salespeople really in America, sales doesn't have a positive connotation, really. So is it about the same in the UK, you're saying?
I think, I think it's, from my experience of selling in America, I think people are just a little more open to hearing what you've got to say before they slam the door in your face. Where in the UK, they'll just look through their little peephole and go, "No, not interested." And you've sort of got to tickle the relationship along to get them to open the door. And also I think in the UK, they're more reticent to believe the dream, if that makes sense. And I when I was at college, I used to sell educational books door to door in the US.
Oh.
So I sold a summer in northern Indiana, summer in north of Chicago, summer in Denver. And I think I've always found people a little bit more open in the US just to being open to an idea. And I've had friends that have gone from the UK to sell in America, and they've experienced that too, where in the UK, there's that, it takes a while to get people to open the kimono.
Right. So what have you seen? Well, I mean, what do people have in common across the pond when it comes to motivating them to buy from you?
I think the things they've got in common is that if people really believe you're trying to help them solve a problem or a need, that they will buy into you. I think personality counts. I think being a human, being engaging. I think a lot of times, especially in today's market, customers don't have to go too far to find someone that's more or less buying the same thing. And so you've got to be likable, or at least professionally credible, for people to go, "You know what, I'm going to invest in you." And I think that's two similarities. Is that, and I think that's probably around the world. So if they believe you're trying to help them, then they will buy from you. Other similarities, I'd say they have a need to sell. I think whichever part of the world you're in, markets are moving so fast now that customers are either insourcing, outsourcing. What you're doing is getting eaten up by lower cost competitors, or they're being automated. And so the need to actually engage the whole organization in business development is becoming increasingly important. And where I see a lot of customers is where you've got CEOs who aren't from a sales background, traditionally have relied on the sales team to go and sort of make the rain. And they're trying to get their head around them being involved more in sales, but also service engineers, operational managers, customer service agents, and making sure they've got part of the sales process.
So how do you bond or connect with somebody? How can you quickly become likable without turning into a professional visitor?
I think it's a bit like how doctors become likable. The first thing they do is just ask lots of questions about you. And I think the mistake salespeople make is they're just too quick to have the perfect solution. Wes, I've got the answer for that. They don't draw the customer out and actually really investigate the problem. The analogy I often use is if you went into a doctor and they went, I've seen your x-rays, lie down here, I've got the knives ready, we're going to cut you open. You'd feel pretty nervous about lying on that table because you're like, hey, you don't know about me. But what they'll do is
maybe I'm in a rush. I got to get to my golf game, and I appreciate just getting busy.
Yeah, but most people don't. They'd want you to know. They'd want you to know something before they're going to buy. They want you to feel like they're going to get something that's tailored to them. And I think the irony is that most businesses sell pretty much the same product to everybody. The great salespeople allow the people that buy to feel like they're getting something that's tailored to them, even though it's the same as what everyone else has got. And so if you think about penicillin, like you don't get penicillin from the doctor and go, hang on a minute, didn't you give that to the last guy? Like you don't, no, I don't want it. He had. The doctor spends time learning about you, and then he gives you penicillin, which is what he gave everybody else, but you take it because you feel it's specifically tailored to your problem. Right. And I think the best way to draw people out is by getting to know them. And if you've got that person on the way to the golf game and she goes, I haven't got time, just give me the bottom line, the likelihood is they don't really want to buy, because they don't have a problem where they're willing to stop what they're doing in order to tell you about what they need. In my experience, when someone just says, tell me what you do, tell me how much it costs, and I'll make a decision, they're not really they don't have a problem in the front of their mind.
Right. Is there a way to turn them around, or is it better just to walk away?
Well, you try and turn them around, and you go, "Well, I can talk to you about it. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions first?" I think Zig Ziglar used to have this thing, and he used to go, "Look, I can tell you what I'm going to say, but I need 3 minutes of your time first, and I just want to ask a couple of questions. If it takes any longer, it's just because you keep talking." And you'd ask a really good open question. And the judgment of that is to make it a targeted question that uncovers an area of need. So if you're talking to a sales director, you'd go, how do you feel about the speed with which you get new salespeople productive? Or something like, how well do you think your first line managers do at driving performance within their team? Like areas where they're never going to be happy. And see what they say. And if they still don't want to talk to you, then the likelihood is you might as well just be a TV advert going, do you struggle to get your whites white? My new formula. But you ask 2 or 3 good questions, and that turns them round, and that's sort of the art of. It's sort of like fishing, like you've got them to nibble on the hook, but what you've got to do is not strike too early, because that typically doesn't work. Not on the YouTube videos I watch, anyway.
So how well do scripts work? I mean, it sounds like you're kind of following a formula. Are you finding that, people are pretty predictable and you can follow a process, or is it always something new?
Well, I think it's a blend. I'm a massive believer in scripts, but I think that you've got to create your own personal script. So when I sold books in America door to door, I had a sales talk and it was like 4 pages, and I wasn't allowed out of sales school until I'd done it 40 times word for word. And the evolution of scripts are, you have to follow a structure of a sales conversation to make sure you don't skip steps. If you sell a product and you sell the same product to similar people, there will be common areas of need that allow you to ask questions where you know you're going to be in an area of interest. So in that sense, you've got a script, you've got your structure, you've got your standard areas of questioning. The art is listening to the individual's answers and being able to tailor their specific needs to the product and solution that you've got. And that's where you can't have a script. It's more formulaic, which is if they've got a problem A, B, and C, you might need solution offering F, G, and a little B. And I think that's where sales has changed, is you need that ability to adapt your product or your solution to meet the specific needs rather than here's our one-time offer.
Well, is it better to tailor your solutions or standardize your solutions and just go find people that need, Apple. Apple didn't change for a long time, and they still have a relatively narrow product offering.
Yeah, I think if you're B2C, then, or you're in a market where you need to sell a lot of low value. So I think where it all depends on the margin that's within your goods. So if you sell a high margin product, then the likelihood is you're going to be probably tailoring that to their needs because that's what they're going to require. If I'm selling something for $500 or I'm selling a course program for $1,200, I can't afford, I don't have the time to tailor a $1,200 program. That's the program. You either want to buy into it or you don't. And it's a much more transactional sale. Because you do the pitch, you buy into it, and you say, "Do you want this?" But if they said, "I want to spend 10 grand, would you tailor it for me?" Well, you probably would. So I think for most businesses, having especially in service business, having some sort of product offering or levels of service, I think helps to frame some of the solutions that you offer and provides a bit of clarity because I think people expect to sort of know this is what I get for $200, this is what I get for 500, and this is what I get for 1,000. But in most service businesses, it's never quite as simple as this is what you're going to get. There's always why does servers in restaurants go? And is there any way you want that cooked? Is there anything else you'd like that done? And that's because people like to feel they get to pimp what they do. That's why when you buy a car, they go, would you like spinners? Would you like blue wing mirrors, mirrored wing mirrors? What wrapper would you want? The car companies don't really care. What they know is they've sold a mid-sized car. But everyone wants to feel like they've had something that's tailored and bespoke for them. And it's sort of how do you find a balance? But if you're in a more commodity sale, that really you're wanting to drive volume through an online training program, or you're looking to get someone to sign up for a social media package, you can't afford to have 6 weeks in a sales process. But if it's $1 million sort of software implementation, or even a 50 grand software implementation, you're probably going to have to, you're willing to invest that little bit more time into it.
Well, there's a lot of restaurants, no substitutions allowed.
Yeah, and they're very confident about getting the right footfall through the restaurant. And what they care about is getting people in and out more than they care about people getting exactly what they want. And that's their business model. And it's not right or wrong. It's just they know their job is to get people through the door. Right. But if I don't like that, I'm probably not going back.
Yep.
And even McDonald's does substitutions, right? They call them grill orders. And I have a friend who's got a kid that's a vegetarian. He goes, "I'll have a hamburger, please, with no meat." Like, what's all that about? And they've just for $2 sold a burger they've sold a bun for $2.
Just order the meat and give it to me.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people expect to have. So if you think about Apple, the way they allow you to tailor your experience, they allow you to build your phone. The iPhone originally wasn't meant to have apps. They didn't want anyone tinkering with it. They were like, this is everything that we want. The only reason
Oh,
they
really?
created the App Store is because everyone was hacking into it and putting apps on anyway.
Right.
And because people want it set up the way they want to set up. I think one of the most fascinating experiences is asking to see different people's front screens on their mobile, and just ask them how they organize their apps. It blows your mind. Like, you're like, how do you do it that way? I could never do it that way. Like, my wife just has one screen, but every button has 9 or 10 apps in it. And I'm like, where is everything? I can't find it. Where I've got pages related to specific topics. And it's just people want that ability to make it personalized. Advertising is personalized. Coupons are personalized. Why wouldn't I want to feel that a product is tailored to me?
So what do you teach or believe in, just picking up the phone and talking to people? I mean, does outbound calling, old school cold calling, does that still work in B2B?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what role you want it to play in the process. I think making a cold call and them going, Wes, is that you? I can't believe it. I've been waiting here for you to call. I can't be that lucky. I've been waiting, and now I've got my order.
I mean, that is the response I get, but I am the sales whisperer.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So cold calling still has a place. I think the phone is still a tremendously powerful tool. The way I sell it is just look at it from a simple word count perspective. Don't even think about how the words are said, your ability to build on questions. In a 5-minute conversation, a two-way conversation typically has 180 words a minute. 5-minute conversation is 900 words. When was the last time someone wrote you a 900-word email? Or you wrote one and they read it? It's just look at and that's even before you get into the ability to build rapport, the ability to tailor your questions, to read the meaning behind the words. But I think what you've got to do is that phone call plus plays a different role in that sales process. And I think warm calls are better than cold calls. But a cold call you only make one cold call as long as on that cold call you pick up a nugget of information that helps you make it warmer the next call.
Right.
And if I'm calling and I've got one nugget of information that shows I know a little bit about you, it's not cold, it's just a little bit warmer. And your goal is to progressively know more about that customer, to call about things that are more and more relevant, to build that relationship and get them to be interested in talking to you.
Right. So what are you seeing? Like, what's working now? Anything
in what context?
New? Is the old school still working? Is there something evolving coming out you're seeing people have success with?
I think it's a hybrid. I think social media has a really good role to play in outreach and to generating inbound leads. The challenge is it's not a quick fix. So you've got to be doing what you do consistently for quite a while before people start to notice and people start to reach out to you. It's interesting how everyone hates cold calling, but the number of cold LinkedIn invites I get every day, everyone seems to be much happier with that than they are with making cold calls. So
because they're not told no. Someone may decline a connection request, but you never really know it because you're just sending these out blindly.
It's just soulless. Why is
everybody afraid to be told no?
Yeah, and I think that's I think not enough leaders sell people on why no's help you get to where you want to go to. And I had lots of training and mindset work and support in just getting your head around the role volume plays in activity. And businesses seem to have sort of almost surrendered to the fact that high volumes of sales activity are automatically a bad thing. Therefore, we won't talk about it or get people to do it because we want to treat people nice, and we'll have a football table and AstroTurf in the lobby area, where like volume of activity plays a role, and it plays a role in getting you good at what you do, becoming well crafted in what you do. It helps you learn more about your customers, because every time you're unsuccessful, you can think about what would I do differently. One of the problems with digital selling and just cold emailing is you never learn what you didn't do right. Like, you don't get that feedback. I I do quite a lot of social selling, and if I get sucked into it, and I find it more draining than just picking up the phone and getting hit in the face with no's. At least I feel like I can turn around to my mates and we can laugh about it. But when you're social selling, you're just drawn into this abyss of just soul sucking, sort of just energy that you're putting in and not feeling like you're getting any return. But at least you can, like, they didn't tell me to piss off quite like last time, and like, you know what, like I sensed a weakness. Oh, they were really mean to me. That means they won't go home and be mean to their kids. They got it out on me. I'm like a good guy. I'm just taking the world's anger out. Like I think it's difficult. It's difficult to care quite as much when you're doing it digitally.
Hey, get a little bit closer. You're getting there.
But then I'm a bit of an old man and things like that. So,
can you hear my dog barking?
I can hear your dog barking.
Man, I got to yell at the kids. I never know. Like, do I just get up?
That's the kids charging the dog up because you haven't hit your target today. Like that dog, they're going, look, Daddy's going to be dinner because he hasn't hit target.
They're charging me up. Hey, all right. Hold on. I'm going to pause this 1 second. Thanks to the wonderful world technology, we're back, and you'll probably didn't even know, but you will know because there'll be less barking in the background.
Fantastic.
So I love how you keep saying the soul sucking, because it's like, I think it's literally social media is an addiction, and I know I'm working on some things. Actually, when I'm coming to London, I'm stopping there because was hired to deliver a keynote talk out in Slovenia at a conference, and I'm talking about how we're being manipulated and how this is 100-year-old. At least 100-year-old technology or science or experiment, around propaganda and how we're manipulated. But people keep coming back to it. So why do we keep coming into or falling back into things that aren't very effective, right? It's like we feel busy, but we know it's not effective, but we still do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think social media can be effective, and you look at inbound lead gen strategies around thought leadership. You do podcasts for a reason. If they didn't work, you wouldn't do them. That the concept of giving before you get, helping people build trust before they reach out to you. The assumption that people are going to be 30, 40, 50% of the way through the sales process before they actually engage or talk to you. It's all those things are turning out to be true. I think that, but in terms of the manipulation, what I love is I've got when I grew up in sales, the sexy bit of sales or the sales process was marketing because it was all the colors, red, blue, green, yellow. What a lovely brochure. And the sales guys were the nasty guys because they went out and they made people buy things. But nowadays, I think we're going to look back and we go, you know what? Those sales guys, they were nice. You could tell them to get lost. They'd probably get lost. They'd call back and try another route, but you could tell them to get lost and they'd go. Marketeers, they're sitting there working out, how do you think? You clicked. You clicked at this. You looked at this. We're now going to do this. The marketing is a nasty business when you start looking at how it is manipulating and deliberately trying to stimulate behavior or addiction to generate a sales process. And that's not necessarily for software sales, but you look at Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, it is, I mean, they have rooms full of PhDs that are sitting there thinking, how can we make our platform more addictive? Mm-hmm. How can we get more data that we can then use to make our program more addictive? And I think it's...
Did we do that as salespeople, or is that manipulation, or is that persuasion? Is that helping them buy?
Well, it is. I mean, look at it from the more I know about you, the better the solution that I can offer you. And I think the thing is, I think a human only has the ability to process so much data. And so I will be doing things like that, and I will learn things, and I'll learn about what your competitors to do, and I'll learn about you, and I'll use that to change my behavior in order to increase the likelihood to you to buy. But my ability to fine tune that as a human is limited. When you have an unlimited amount of processing power and you have the ability to compare that person's behavior against millions of others, the quality of the manipulation that you can make is far more sophisticated than me and the 200 people I meet a year. So the principle and the process is the same. It's just that humans just aren't as good as computers when it comes to collecting data and not forgetting data.
But should we try to do that as salespeople, or is that just sleazy?
No, I mean, we do that. Like, I mean, who is it? I read this book once. It was a great book called Rolodex. I don't think you can even get it on Amazon anymore. I lent it to someone and they didn't return it. But basically, it was about a guy whose Rolodex, every card had 30 pieces of information on. And those 30 pieces of information were the key bits you needed in order to nurture that relationship, from personal information to company information to team information. And so we've always done that. Good salespeople do need data. They do need knowledge, because that knowledge helps you tailor what you do. It enables you to build on the relationship that you've got. But how many people do you speak to in a year? 200, 300, like 4?
I don't like in person or on the phone or what?
Yeah, just on the phone. Just how many prospects do you speak to a year?
Oh man, actually speak to before they buy? Yeah, a couple hundred.
Yeah, I mean, and so you're always using that information, but you've got 200 people to compare against. Compare that over a 20-year career, that's 4,000 people. Like, Amazon's comparing it to 50 million.
Right.
You know, and they don't forget, and they reuse that data, where you don't remember half the people you spoke to last year, with all due respect, because it's not relevant. It programs the subconscious, and your subconscious chooses which bits it remembers. So as I said, it's not bad.
Can we even compete? Or is Amazon going to put us all out of business? Should we all just jump into the matrix now?
Yeah, tank, upload Kung Fu every day. So yeah, I mean, I think it will find an equilibrium. Part of the problem is you've got these massive organizations and they're not regulated. There's like they're streets ahead of what legislators can actually. The legislators don't even understand what they're doing. So when Zuckerberg went in front of Congress, the questions they asked him demonstrated they had no idea what Facebook do.
Right.
Like, they just don't even get it. And those are the people that make the laws. He just walked out and went, they didn't even ask me a question that made me stretch. They're like, oh, how can I choose not to like somebody? Like, I mean, they're proper into it. They're just decades ahead of where legislators can get to. And then you spend your lobbying money, and then nothing will ever change. So, but anyway, am I turning into a cynical person? Maybe.
So are you saying there's still hope for people that think social media and all these other tools, they do suck the life out of you? Is there hope for us?
Of course. I mean, I think it's about keeping those tools in perspective. And I every day we always see people going, like, this is the next big way to, like, every time you see it, win customers without even having to ever make a cold call. Don't sell, make people want to buy. Like, and those things, they just don't. You need human contact, and I think we will come round full cycle where businesses that have value to add or have a value add service will still need human contact. And if you look at some of the best SaaS companies, so people like HubSpot, you fill in a white paper, someone picks up the phone and goes, "All right, how you doing? We saw you had a white paper. What was it you liked?" And they're blending that. I think HubSpot call it smarketing. They're blending the marketing with the sales function to support that ongoing nurturing of relationships. Because if you just rely on people buying, you have to have a product that can sell itself. And very few companies get to that point.
Right.
Most people need help and support through that decision-making process to sort of help them either decide it's not you or help them decide it is you. I mean, I started a SaaS business earlier this year, and the relationship between the people that I spoke to that bought and the relationship that are people that I left to do their own thing and didn't buy, like, you just can't survive on it working its way through on its own unless you've got a product that no one else has. But most apps are selling a product that competes against other apps, and people need help through that process. And you need to be able to differentiate your product, and that's where the humans come in. I think digital marketing has a fantastic role to play in lead generation and bringing people in that are at the point of decision or interest in your product. And to that end, cold calling from the white pages or from just LinkedIn profiles, it's not as effective. You're better off putting that out to the marketing team to do some trendy whiz bang pop content and thought leadership to try and nurture people along, and leave the humans to do the things that they do well, which is understand the nuances of what people want and offer that solution.
If you had to start from scratch, let's say you just pick you up, move you to another town in the UK. I don't know, give you $500. Give you $500 and you got to turn it into 10 grand in 30 days.
Okay.
What would you do?
Would I know what I'm selling?
You can do whatever you want.
Well, the thing is, I come from a recruitment or staffing background. So for me, $500, I'd probably buy some advert. I'd buy some access to a job board, find a couple of cracking candidates and take them out to market. I'd speak to a few clients and say, what are the skill sets you can never recruit? And then I'd go and find one, and then I'd introduce them to them. And that's the quickest way to turn 500 quid into $500 into 10 grand. Turning that into 120 is a different story. Turning it into a business of 10 people is a different story.
Right.
But there's money to be made. The key is I would know what skill sets people can't find themselves. So I would already know where the need is.
Right.
I think whatever you do, like if you said you don't know anything about that market and you don't know anything about what you're selling.
No, that's rarely the case though, because most people, we're not running around here brain dead, right?
Yeah.
Our problem is we're just not taking action. But basically, you said you'd go back to your roots, something you know very well, and essentially find a need and fill it.
Yeah, and
right?
and that's how staffing works. And I'd also make an effort to find physical networking events because I think that enables you to find a community that you can A, sell to, but B, feel part of.
Right.
I do a lot of work in the staffing industry, and I go to a lot of staffing conferences. And when I go there, everyone knows I'm like the training guy, but they don't avoid me, even though I've got something to sell, because I'm a nice guy and I'm in the same place regularly. And as a result of that, people call me because they know me and they don't think I'm an idiot. And a lot of times, just when people are at the moment of need, what they think about is, who do I know that could help me with that? That's not a dick. And what you've got to, and so if you're in a market and you're not selling enough, then what you've got to do, and this is a game my first director told me to do, is get a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and on the right side write friends, and on the left side write wannabe friends. And the friends side, you only put down friends are the people that would call you if they had a need. And you've got to write down, I encourage everyone just to write down a list of people that you think would call you if they could buy what you sell. And write that list and then ask yourself, is that long enough to enable me to grow or do what I want with my business? And in all likelihood, the biggest challenge that people have in growing their businesses, they just don't meet enough people. They just don't know enough people to make the numbers work for themselves. And that's because everyone sort of gets one prospect and they nurture it to death. Or actually, the best salespeople are the ones that just don't worry about making sales for the first 3-6 months. Like if it comes along, they'll be interested. They know they've got to fill that. They've got to find a network that they're going to nurture. And most social media magic fixes basically say, let us find you people. Let us shortcut that process of knowing people. But how long have you been doing your podcast, Wes?
5 years.
And how many people do you have listen to it on a regular basis?
Oh, tens of thousands.
And how many leads does that generate every week?
That's harder to qualify.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, at least that.
So even if it's 10, that's still 0.1% of the people that know you and engage with your content that contact you every week.
Yep.
And like, and you could probably do with more, right?
Right.
It's we just don't put enough into the machine to enable it to, and that's why businesses that I work with are really about how do you engage the whole organization in business development. So if you've got a service engineer going on site, are they looking for leads? Are they looking for upsell opportunities? And have you worked to make them feel good about that?
Right.
Often I speak to, say, for example, I work with some management consultancies and they've got 100 people on client sites every day and they're like, oh, the pipeline's light. And I go, the guys on site, what are they seeing in their clients? What needs do they spot? And they go, oh, we don't know. And I'm like, they're already selling a service. The people on site aren't keeping an eye out for other opportunities to upsell. And that's because they haven't made it a palatable option for those individuals. Customer service teams have a really important role, again, about upselling, retention. You know, it's that marketing teams. I was at a managing director the other day and the marketing director went, we generated 400 leads last month. And the sales director went, no, it wasn't 400 leads. It was 400 names.
Right.
Like, two departments in the same organization don't even have the same terminology for what a lead is.
See it all the time. Sales and marketing are at odds with one another.
But they both got a role to play when they collaborate well, when they both know what each other are looking for. It can be fantastic.
Amen.
But you just got to, like, if you don't know enough people, you're going to be winning bad business for bad money because you need to feed the kids.
Yeah.
The unluckiest people I see are the ones that have the most stuff not come off, but they can afford for it not to come off.
Right.
Normally the individuals that say, oh, that one deal didn't come off, I'm going to have a bad month. I'm so unlucky. Well, they're not unlucky. They just didn't know enough people. They just didn't have enough options on the go.
Yeah.
And that's part of the challenge, is especially for people from a non-sales background, it's helping them understand that mindset of you've got to have a lot on the go to afford for things not to come off, which makes it unemotional.
Right. Amen.
I'm preaching to the converted here. This is sort of like a loving.
I know. That's awesome. So, man, where do we send people to learn more about you so they can get better and helping people get better at knowing who the heck they are?
So there's two places they can go. One is you can visit me at alexmoyle.co.uk. That's alexmoyle.co.uk. Or you can go to Amazon and look up Business Development Culture, and you can find my book, Business Development Culture, Taking Sales Out of the Sales Team. And that's a great way to sort of see what I'm all about and what I believe in. And but yeah, reach out on the website, give me a shout, and be nice to hear from people. Or you can find me on LinkedIn like everybody else.
All right. Well, when I come out there in November, I expect an autographed copy handed to me.
I've got one here. I'm looking at a big stack. I'll write it now.
Oh, you got one where you spilled some tea on it and the dog chewed on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I inadvertently, somebody bought one of my other books and I thought she bought this one, so I signed it to Victoria. So if any of you listening are named Victoria and you would like a book, please let me know. I've got one already signed.
Very, very, very. Well, what you should do is say, is anyone's named Victory? And you can sort of like scribble it out. So,
all right, Alex Moyle, you look good for 8 days alone with the kids, man. You're a stronger man than me. Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast.
No worries. Thanks, Wes, for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for listening.
Cheers. The power of the human relationship. We are assistant buyers. Be a human. Engage. Seek to serve. Be credible. Investigate the problem before you prescribe. How many times have you heard me cover that topic? You know, in this age of artificial intelligence and bots, you always hear zig when they zag. Are you zagging or are you zigging? You're just trying to add more and more robotics to your business and isolate yourself, or you're trying to get closer to your customers who feel isolated. I think this is a timely lesson, timely interview. So make sure, go back and listen, take some notes. See the notes on the on my blog where I host this, and then let me know how else I can help you become more human, how to get better at serving, so you can be rewarded handsomely. Again, good zig. Good old zig. You can get whatever you want, be helping other people get what they want. So how much are you seeking to serve? If you need help with that, come join us, makeeverysale.com. Please leave a review. Please subscribe. That helps when you share this, when you comment. Let me know you're out there, but let your friends know what you're listening to. And Friends of a Feather listen to podcasts together. I just made that up. That's pretty good though, wasn't it? All right. So, hey, thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.